And so it was AI. It was a deepfake AI of President Trump. It wasn't him. It wasn't legitimate. It wasn't promoted by Trump or the administration or anything. It was all fake. Here's the even crazier part. We get this call like on a Monday after the Super Bowl. We notified the FBI. He notified the FBI. The site was up for 30, 45, 60 days, something like that after. This is after the FBI is notified. It's not up anymore. But that's how crazy this is. Like, can you imagine how much money was ripped off from people who were watching that, who thought it was legitimate? It was all deep fake AI. That's how crazy this is. Let's go!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan, alongside my partner, the professor, Luigi Rosabianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, this is going to be like a flashback of This Is Your Life. Remember years ago in the canyons of Wall Street where you were filling out those little paper forms and wearing that really fancy vest and yelling and screaming? Well, today we have on the podcast Mr. David Meyer. David has made an amazing reputation for himself as a securities lawyer, helping out the retirees and mom and pops from those diabolical, mean securities firms out there. So, David, welcome to the podcast.
Great to be here. Thank you.
So, you're a little bit long in the tooth. You go to law school, and I would imagine that this sort of niche industry doesn't exactly come across your plate. How did you get into this securities field out of law school?
So, going back 30 years ago when I had a full head of hair, I was a young lawyer. I got a master's in tax when I got my law degree. So I had a joint law degree, master's in tax. I was a tax lawyer for like 2 weeks. It was terrible. The tax codes really, there's a lot of thin paper and long and big words, and it was really complex. And I just wasn't a guy that was going to sit behind a desk and read a tax code. So I wanted to be a lawyer and an entrepreneur. I just didn't know how to do that. I didn't want to be a personal injury lawyer because I thought that field was well covered. There's just a lot of good lawyers doing personal injury work. But I wanted to be a contingency fee. I wanted to be a bet on myself. I wanted to be results oriented, not effort oriented. And in my world, that's being a contingency fee lawyer. So I was looking for ways to do that. I had no idea about the securities industry litigation field. And I was a 2-year lawyer working as an associate at a small business tax firm. And someone walked into the door, went to my boss, and my boss didn't want the case. The guy was walking out. I literally ran into this person. I've told the story many times that my whole professional life was based on running into somebody as I was on the way to the copier at 27 years old or 28 years old. And I asked what his name was, and he said, "Hey, I've been to 3 lawyers. I can't find anyone to help me, and I really just need someone to listen to me." And I said, "Well, I'll listen." And he said, I'm in a small town. I've got this problem with this stockbroker. He sold my investments without my authority, and I really like some help. And I said, "Well, I'm happy to talk to you." And he said, "By the way, sir, I've got some friends that had a similar problem. And this is a time of my life. Like I said, I was looking for something to do that would be an interesting field where I could try to prove myself and get really good at it. And I thought this might be an opportunity, because go back to 1998, 1999, nobody was thinking about suing their financial advisors. Everything's going up, .com, the market's going crazy. Everyone's making money. Everyone loves their financial advisors. No one's talking about, financial advisor malpractice. So I drove an hour away. I think I took up my little Honda Accord. I drove up an hour away. And I walked into a room, and there were 50 or 75 people there, all retirees. Here I am, 2 years out of law school, and they're telling me about this problem they had with their broker. So to make a long story short, I took the case, ended up filing it as a class action. There were 250 members of the class who were customers of this brokerage firm, Prudential Securities, all victims of unauthorized trading to the tune of millions of dollars. I filed as a class action when I was 28. We tried the case to a jury when I was 32. It took 4 years to get to the actual trial. We had a trial for about 4 weeks in a jury in a small town in Ohio, state court. We got a $262 million jury verdict, which I'm told was the largest jury verdict against a financial institution at that time anyway. It went up to a court of appeals, took another couple years. The court of appeals reduced the punitive damages, but ultimately all my clients got all their money back. Well, that case took a long time, But that's when I decided, hey, I want to do this. And I started doing the research that all entrepreneurs do. And
Yeah, of course you wanted to do it. You hit a home run at your first at bat coming up from AAA.
I was a little afraid that maybe I was peaking at 30, but at that point, this market was underserved. Frankly, there weren't any lawyers doing this work, there were not a lot of lawyers doing this work. And I said, hey, this is an opportunity for me. I mean, I've got some credibility. Obviously, I've got this. I've got this jury verdict, which is still hanging on my wall 30 some odd years later, or whatever it is. And so that's what I did. I set out to build a practice. I wanted to build the best securities litigation law firm in the country. And that was my goal. 30 years in, we've represented over 1,500 investors all over the country. Cases against brokerage firms, for the most part, go to arbitration. The first case I had was in court because it's a class action, which is really only one of the exceptions. Otherwise, it's all mandatory arbitration. So it's a nationwide practice. So that's what I've been doing is doing that work and building a firm. And now we've got 6 or 7 lawyers. We do this work all over the country. I wrote a book, and we do a lot of advocacy, a lot of investor protection work. And it's been incredibly rewarding. It's a lot of fun. It's fulfilling. It's just been a great way to practice law for the last 30 years.
You know what's funny is the market's been going up for several years in a row right now, right? We are due for a correction. And it's time for it to rain for you, David.
It's funny.
When everything's going up, we don't ask questions, right?
It's funny. It's really funny you say that. So the market's been going up basically since 2010, right?
Yeah.
So we've got 16 or 17 years of a bull market. Well, I've got lawyers working here, including my partner, Courtney Werning. She's been with me since law school, 15 years. She's never been through a bear market. She's a securities lawyer devoted to this practice her entire career, all in basically a bull market with one or two exceptions. So when the market does correct, and it will, it's going to be incredibly busy. But we've been fortunate. I mean, look, it's unfortunate when this happens to people, but we've been incredibly busy throughout this. There's all kinds of things that happen, unfortunately, in this business. We've been plenty busy, but when the market does correct, it's going to be crazy.
So I've been on Wall Street, right? I spent a long time there. I've been through 3 of the worst bear markets that anybody's ever seen, right? From the dot-com blow up, from 9/11, all the way through the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't see anything as bad as that. I mean, COVID, that was kind of a blip because we came back so quickly, right? When I was on Wall Street, and I left in 2015, about 10 years ago, there wasn't that much social media going on, okay? What I see now are people that are unlicensed soliciting investment all over the place, right? What can we do to help business owners and everybody listening to not fall for some of these Facebook ads that they see promising gigantic returns?
If
they can do?
Yeah. If your audience takes one thing from this podcast, it's never, ever invest with any money with anyone who's not registered. And they can find out if they're registered for free in their pajamas on the couch at night by going to brokercheck.org. It's a free website by the regulators. No one should ever invest a single dollar of money they care about with anyone who is unlicensed. You can go to brokercheck.org, type in the name, and see if they're licensed. You can see the regulatory history. It's not perfect. There's some holes, but it's the only industry I'm aware of, guys, where you can investigate your prospective professional that you're going to work with and see if they're licensed. If they're not licensed, run. Don't walk, run. Never give any money to anyone who's not licensed. And that advice alone would stop 50% of the calls I get at my law office. People would do that.
What about real estate? Investing in local real estate. That's a different animal.
Okay, right. So that's different. So you're not going to get the protections of the securities license and the regulation, and that's just a risk you're going to have to take. I mean, and look, a lot of my friends are real estate developers. A lot of people I know invest in that, and it's just got to be due diligence. I would hire a lawyer. I would hire a lawyer before I invest any significant money into a private real estate deal, for example. And there are plenty of good ones, obviously. But because you don't have the licensing and the regulation and all that out there that protects the individual investor, you need a lawyer. I mean, if you're going to put significant money out there, have a lawyer, do the due diligence, do the investigation, read all the documents. The problem is this stuff is so complex. The offering documents are complex. The prospectuses are complex. Everyone wants to read the 5-page PowerPoint, about what the expected returns are and all that. But it really takes somebody that knows what they're doing. Either you have a lot of experience or you have hire a lawyer who's got the experience. There's plenty of solid lawyers out there that know what they're doing and can figure out, hey, these are the questions you should ask. This is what I recommend. I would always recommend, if you're going to do a private investment that's outside the regulation of the securities industry, hire a lawyer.
I totally agree with that. At least be advised, but also hire somebody that knows what they're doing. Please don't go and hire a tax attorney to look at a PPM, right? A private placement memorandum. Go to a securities lawyer. I always tell people I have different lawyers for different things, but I've never met a lawyer who told me that they couldn't do something.
Well, they have doctors that do, you don't get your knee replaced by a brain surgeon, right? So same thing for lawyers. If you have a securities case, you shouldn't hire a lawyer that does nursing home litigation or whatever it is.
100%. Make sure you get somebody that specializes in it.
Right. I mean, the world is complex and hard. You got to find somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, a lot of scams going on right now. I mean, my father-in-law he got ripped off on some crypto scam for $100,000 from some text messages. It's crazy.
That's probably most of our caseload right now is internet scams. And let me tell you how it works. Pig butchering is a significant problem. We've had some serious cases.
I think that's what happened to him. Can you explain that for the audience? What it is?
Pig butchering. It's worth reading about the background. There's been some incredible documentaries and some investigative reporting about it. So there's an initial contact through social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, WhatsApp, anything like that, reaching out to build some rapport with someone claiming to be a crypto expert, and they might get $100 or $200. And then they're going to give you some fake returns. They're going to build some relationships. So they prop you up. That's the pig butchering, is when they fatten up the pig before they slaughter, right? That's the analogy. So, folks, and these aren't, we talked about this before we recorded. These aren't stupid people. These are smart, savvy, usually entrepreneurs, business owners. Fraud chases money, right? So the people that have the money, if you don't have any money, no one's going to try to steal money from you, right? That's why banks get robbed, right? Because they have the money. So the joke goes. So, these are people that they get the relationship through the internet, online. They look like they're making some money, and then the scammer will say, "Hey, go to your brokerage firm and transfer $100,000 or $200,000 over to this account at maybe a crypto exchange." And so people walk into their advisor and 70 years old in a retirement account and say, "Hey, I need $100,000 to $200,000." And that alone, those red flags, brokerage firms are trained to look for that, right? Because so far in what I've told you, no one's looking out for you. No one at WhatsApp gives a crap. Instagram doesn't looking at your messages. So there's nobody there to protect you. But when you go to your brokerage firm or you have your money and you've got a trusted advisor and you say, "Hey, I need $100,000 or $200,000. I'm going to do this." There's all kinds of questions they're supposed to do. These brokerage firms are trained to identify potential signs of elder fraud abuse. And then they move the money over, and then the money's stolen. And then what happens is they get so wrapped up to this, then the fraudster will start threatening the victim. "Hey, we're going to call the police. We're going to call the FBI." They get more money, and then the whole thing blows up. So it's withdrawing the money from the brokerage accounts or banks. That's really where the issues, and that's where we target, because the financial institutions are designed and are required under many circumstances to protect their customers, particularly brokerage firms. And brokerage firms have an absolute regulatory obligation to protect their customers' money. They need to ask questions. Wait a minute, you've had your account here for 30 years. You've never never wired $100,000 out to this. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? They've got trusted contacts. Call an adult son, call the spouse, call the cousin, call the lawyer to protect the money. Because usually once this money's gone, guys, it's gone.
And listen, some of them are very sophisticated. Like my father-in-law literally came over my house. He's like, "I made $1 million. Can you help me get my money out?" There was no $1 million. It looked like Coinbase. It wasn't Coinbase, right? His money was in there. It looked like it was up. Yeah, we can get your $1 million out, but you have to pay a fee to get it out.
Yeah.
Now you got to pay the fee to release the money, and that they're just scamming you for more money. And so
we have a case now where it all came up because at a family dinner, the parents said, "Hey, good news, son. The FBI is protecting my money. My money wasn't protected, but now the FBI is protecting my money." And the son's like, "What are you talking about?" Well, they got conned into transferring their money to whom they thought was the FBI, and it was a scammer. But the brokerage firm allowed him to take all this money out. So yeah, it's rampant. And let me tell you the craziest thing. So the Super Bowl, people watch the Super Bowl on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's an ad, and this is not a political statement, so just bear with me here because this is 100% true, 100% accurate. But it's going to sound political, but it's not political at all. So, there are the legitimate, I think they're called the Trump accounts for kids. It's like a legitimate, legitimate thing. So on YouTube, there was a legitimate ad for these Trump accounts for $1,000, whatever it is, and you watch the ad and it's great. Then the Super Bowl comes back, and then there's an ad, and it appears to be President Trump promoting a crypto investment, and it's what appears to be him talking, and it looks official, and it's got all the ticker tape and all the reference to all the appropriate things, and what appears to be President Trump promoting this crypto thing, and the website was something like Trump2026.org or something like that, and so a lawyer who was watching that. Calls his brokerage firm and says, hey, I want to transfer $500,000 to this crypto investment that's being promoted by President Trump. And so they go through this process. The guy hangs up. He says, you know what? I think this might be a scam. He calls his brokerage firm back. It's all recorded. And says, wait a minute, this might be a scam. And the brokerage firm says, okay, I'm glad you called. Thanks. We won't do anything. Well, then 10 minutes later, you get a confirmation that the brokerage firm actually executed the trade and said $500,000. It was a complete fake website. Here's what's crazy. Wow. So it was AI. It was a deepfake AI of President Trump. It wasn't him. It wasn't legitimate. It wasn't promoted by Trump or the administration or anything. It was all fake. Here's the even crazier part. We get this call like on a Monday after the Super Bowl. We notified the FBI. He notified the FBI. The site was up for 30, 45, 60 days, something like that after. This is after the FBI is notified. It's not up anymore. But that's how crazy this is. Like, can you imagine how much money was ripped off from people who were watching that, who thought it was legitimate? It was all deep fake AI. That's how crazy this is.
The world we're moving into it's definitely going to be crazy. You speak to somebody, you know their voice, but how far away are we from people faking voices, faking?
We're not. That's actually happening. You've probably heard of emails where, Aunt Susie gets an email from their nephew who says that they're in the Philippines and needs $1,500 because somebody broke in their email and figured out the names. Well, now they're getting voicemails from deep fake. Hey, this is, nephew Steve or whatever. And they're copying voices. I mean, it is nuts.
They're getting good, these scammers too. And again, to me, I got a text message. This is from Coinbase. Give us a call back. So I called the number back, and then I knew it was a scam right away. I'm like, nah, I'm not interested. They're like, we need you to log into your account. I don't know if they were mimicking something, but they sent me another fake text to confirm. They must have been getting the whatever Coinbase sent me, that verification code, they wanted me to put into their verification site. We have a lot of cases against Coinbase. So, it's. Let me ask you this. So, I was on Wall Street in the 2000s, right? That's when if you were around then, there was all the pump and dump scams going on, right? Small firms, small flows, people buying it before and then selling it out to the public. What's going on with crypto and these coins these days? Is pump and dump legal in crypto?
Well, let me give you the big picture answer is we are in sort of no man's land with regulation, right? The prior administration was trying to get cryptocurrency as a security and get it under the umbrella of securities regulation. Now we're moving in a different direction. We've got this Clarity Act being proposed. So the short answer is we are in the wild, wild west.
Okay.
It's who knows what the regulation is. We are pursuing claims against exchanges, based on what we believe is to be the standard of industry, the standard of care in the industry, what's going on. But it is a wild time in crypto. I think, in my opinion,
David, the standard of care in what industry? Are you assuming it's a security?
Well, no. Well, we can't because it's not. We have to get experts and say, look, if you're going to run a crypto exchange, this is what you should do. This is best practices. But we don't have the benefit of all the generations of
case law
and all that. So it's a wild time, and it's arbitration. So it is just a challenging time. I mean, look, I see the worst of the worst. So my portfolio looks like an 80-year-old woman, right? So because I see the worst of the worst. So I am probably too conservative about some of this stuff. I don't invest in crypto. I'm concerned about it. But obviously there's a lot of people that have made a lot of money. You just need to understand that it's essentially not regulated. And if you're okay with that, people can take risk if they're aware of the risks, and just understand that we are just a long way from any kind of uniform regulation about how the actual individual, the consumer, is protected.
We got to see when the Clarity Act comes out, but Lou, I'll tell you this. I don't know if I ever told you the story. So I was at Trump's inauguration. The crypto ball was that night. Everybody bought the Trump coin, right? I didn't have enough money in crypto to transfer over, so I couldn't buy it. Talk about the biggest pump and dump I've ever seen in my life.
Right. And these meme coins are terrible. I mean, it's terrible. And people, we laugh about it, but people are losing a lot of money, their life savings, because they get caught up in all this, and obviously, like, I don't think politics should get involved in all this, but it is now, and that's the way. That's the world we're living in.
History does well. Maybe what's that saying? History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. So we see these same patterns over and over again, right? You remember a few years ago the NFTs, and prior to that, there's always that new get rich quick scheme. And it's very attractive, right? Because people want to be successful, but usually if something is too good to be true,
it's the no free lunch, right? I mean, we tell people that, and like most of the people that we see, are not swinging for fences. They're not intentionally trying to get outsized returns. Most people that we see, because the retirees, they're just trying to protect and save and grow their money reasonably, so they have it their entire lives. But there's a lot going on. And look, the bottom line is invest with people who have licenses, or if you're going to do something private, hire a lawyer. If you want to get into crypto, there's crypto compliance lawyers you can hire. I'm a litigation lawyer, so I come in after the fact, but if I were going to invest a serious amount of money in something like crypto, I would hire a lawyer who was well-versed in the ins and outs of cryptocurrency that can tell me what to do, what to watch out for. I would never do it alone, because it's so complex, it's so risky, and there's so much unknown, and the regulation is so early stage that there's just so much risk with it.
So you've been doing this for 25 years, $350 million in cases, right? What is the strangest case you've ever seen?
That's a great question. I mean, most recently, the most tragic case. Well, let me tell you the strangest case. Small town America. The advisor gets all these people to invest with him, and he's got some. It's a made up. It's theft. It's a made up investment that he's created, that he siphoned from his brokerage account, selling away, which is a firm you're probably phrase you're familiar with. But he's selling his clients a fake investment away from his firm, but his firm isn't watching him. They're not. The compliance is terrible. He's using his firm email that they're supposed to be monitoring. I mean, it's a disaster. And these are people that had $100,000, $150,000. This was their entire life savings. And he loses it all. It's all gone. And he comes back to these people and says, "Don't sue me," because we were representing people, we were meeting with people, and he's like, "Look, God is with me." And he literally went around and prayed with these people. I mean, literally sat down with the Bible and the whole thing, and praying with these people that the money's going to come back. The money's going to come back. Like, just trust in God and whatever. So it was a strong case against the brokerage firm, but we had to convince these people that God isn't just randomly going to recover your money. That's not going to work. But what the point of that is, and we mentioned this earlier, is the trust that these people, they're salespeople, right? And they're in the community, and they're embedded, and they build relationships, and their mother knows, and their aunt, and everyone, the family's related, and they go to church together, and they're in clubs together. So people just, they want to trust people. A joke I use is, people will drive across town to save 10 cents on a can of soup, but they'll hand their life savings over to anyone in a nice looking suit and a firm handshake. I mean, that's crazy, right? But people will go out of their way to save some money on something, but they'll hand over their life savings with anyone with a nice smile.
I couldn't agree with you more. Every time I've seen it, I watch American Greed a lot, but it's always church communities, community gatherings,
affinity fraud,
right? Small towns all the time. But I have to tell you, I think there's a bigger problem here. I think it's an industry problem. Okay. I think you should not be able to charge commissions on trades, right? I think you should be able to profit in the performance of the account. Now, just like a hedge fund does, maybe you take a small management fee and 20% profits, right? But the industry doesn't allow that. Like FINRA does not want you to charge somebody $100 to make a trade and then take 20% of the profit on the way out, and then charge somebody $100 on the way out of the trade if they lose, right? Or cover your costs or take it on the chin. So that's a problem overall.
Yeah, when I understand it. I mean, the industry is moving toward AUM fees and all that. The problem with that is people think, hey, I'm paying 80 basis points, 0.8%. What they don't understand is that's actually not what they're paying. That's only a portion of what they're paying.
Because they're moving the money into other different products inside of there where there's commissions on the back end.
Well, commit fees, mutual fund fees, ETF fees, trading fees, platform fees. I built an app. Actually, it's the only application I'm aware of that actually can calculate the total fees that you're paying, because the investment industry, this is the only thing that we pay for. We have no idea what we're paying. There's nothing else you buy. There's zero things in this world that you buy that you don't know what it costs, except your investment management. Isn't that crazy? No single retail investor knows all in what they're paying for somebody to manage their money. Not a single person.
When I first started in early 2000s trading, you were able to mark a stock up, and you didn't have to disclose the markup.
Yeah. But no one, everyone. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, there's nothing illegal going on, but the way that the industry works is
it's not transparent.
It's not transparent. There's a lack of transparency. So it's all in these offering documents and all the documents that nobody ever reads. But when you get your bill most people pay that have the AUM fees, they get a quarter of the annual fee taken out every quarter of their account. So they do the math. Hey, if I got $1 million, I'm paying 80 basis points. That's my fee. It's usually double that what you're actually paying, and nobody knows it. It is absolutely insane that this is the only thing. You go to buy a refrigerator, you know what a refrigerator costs, right? Now, if you ask advisors, hey, why won't you tell me everything I'm getting paid? And they'll say, hey, you know what I'm getting paid. Other money's going elsewhere. Well, when I buy a refrigerator, I don't give a shit. Sorry. I don't care if how much the wholesaler's making or the manufacturer. I want to know what it costs. It's right there on the placard on the front in Walmart, right? I know the total cost. Doesn't matter. I don't care who's getting what, right? I just want to know I know what the total cost is, but nobody knows the actual costs of investment management. So again, transparency is a problem. Now, look, you're not going to go broke overpaying or not knowing what you're going to pay. So there's a lot of other problems, that we deal with on a daily basis. But it's just one thing that's always driven me crazy.
No, but it does cost you because it adversely affects your compounding interest, right? So that's the American dream.
It can cost you 20% of your portfolio over 20 years, not knowing what you're paying.
So David, let's go back to that original gentleman you met 30 years ago from Ohio. Okay, you're making a photocopy, and there was something in that gentleman's eye that triggered that conversation. Now, when you hear Prudential Securities, some people shudder and like, whoa, deep pockets, white shoe lawyers, I'm out of here.
Well, they did they had really good lawyers, that's for sure. Lawyers who I've been battling against for 30 years. Same law firm, same lawyers.
But what made you roll up your sleeve and say, I'm going to take this on?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. I was young and I was hungry, and I was in the middle of trying to find my purpose. I wanted to find something that I could call me. I wanted to bet on myself. I didn't know anyone. I was working in a city. I didn't have any network, no connections, no family, no money. And I wanted to bet on myself. I mean, I was going to be a mobile home fraud lawyer. I mean, I was doing all kinds of research of what can I do to help people get paid a contingency fee, be an entrepreneur, do some good, and build something on my own. So it wasn't like I woke up and said, I want to be a securities fraud lawyer. I wanted to do something different than other people. I wanted to build something that had market ability. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to create my own path. And, for whatever reason, I wasn't scared. I mean, when I thought Prudential Securities, I'm like, well, they got the money, right? I didn't think, oh my God, they're going to hire fancy lawyers, because then I was young and I thought, look, if we're right, then we're right. And
Were you by yourself at this point? Was it a single practice? Just
I was
you?
working. No, I was working for like a 4 or 5 lawyer firm.
Okay.
At the time, so I was an associate at a very small business in tax.
Because there had to be a point where you said, "Shit, I might be over my head here."
So I did bring in 2 other lawyers. So we had a team that helped me, and they became my mentors and good friends. So yeah, we had a team together because that case took $1 million of money, of actually out of pocket money, depositions and experts and all that. So I needed help because I didn't have any money. So we definitely had a team, but we were 3 small town lawyers. I mean, the joke, I mean, I should have written a book about it because it was a small county, Marion County, Ohio. Well, a year before the trial,
Marion County,
Marion, Ohio,
big
hours north of Columbus.
No, Marion County. Wasn't there another big case out of Marion County, like a class action?
Well, that's this one. I don't know.
No, it wasn't securities. It was something else.
But so a year before, and the case went on for 4 years before we tried it. We were up there for a status conference, and we decided that, hey, there's the hotels are the Super 8s and that kind of stuff up there. So we went to a bed and breakfast a year in advance and paid for a whole month of a bed and breakfast. And then Prudential, because they thought we'd take a cheap settlement or whatever, they didn't prepare. So they ended up at like the Motel 6. These are fancy, expensive West Coast lawyers. I mean, they're all good friends of mine. I've known them forever now. And they had their files in bathtubs, and we were in a beautiful home. The owner was making us breakfast every morning. We had a pool table. We took out all the furniture to bring in copiers and computers. We had an entire house. I mean, we were the small town yokel lawyers. We had fax machines and all that.
Movie. It sounds like a good script.
And they were literally in like 10 rooms at the Motel 6 with the files in bathtubs. It was wild.
Wow. So let's unpack that for a second, right? You're a new attorney. You brought in a couple people with you. Let's talk about that business side of being a lawyer with you, right? You said you had to fund this out of your pockets, or how does that work? How do you fund a case like this, knowing that you may or not get paid on the contingency on the end? Is there a funding company that you use? Are there investors that back the case?
So building a contingency fee law practice, and I know I'm familiar with your podcast. I know you got a lot of small business owners and talk about capital formation and money. The interesting thing about being a contingency fee plaintiff's lawyer, it doesn't have really any of the attributes of you would think to be a legitimate, a business that you'd want to be into, because there's no reoccurring revenue, there's no repeat business, there's no accounts receivables. Every month you start over, and if you lose your case, you don't get paid. We don't get paid for effort; we get paid for results. And we lose cases for a variety of reasons. The judge goes the other way, or whatever it may be. So it's a challenging business. Which the irony is, people talk about frivolous lawsuits. The people that are least likely to ever file a frivolous lawsuit, somebody who only gets paid if you win, right? So I'm not going to file a frivolous lawsuit, because why would I intentionally file something I didn't believe that merit, because I know I'm not going to make any money, right? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to have to pay money to pursue it. I got to hire experts and depositions and travel. So as a contingency fee lawyer, the mechanics of the business are self-governing to prevent frivolous lawsuits. Now, fancy corporations and have all the money, they can sue, they can do whatever they want because they're paying the lawyer by the hour. I'm not suggesting those file intentionally frivolous lawsuits, but we don't have the incentive, because I can't run my business taking the time and putting my people that I'm paying salaries for to do a case that doesn't make any sense. So it is challenging from a business standpoint. And a lot of my friends who run very successful business make fun of me because, there's no reoccurring revenue, there's no repeat business, there's no accounts receivables. So it's wild. Now, there are nowadays companies where funding companies, and there's all kinds of, now there's the politics behind the insurance industry doesn't want funding companies to help plaintiffs' lawyers. There's all kinds of crazy stuff. We don't do any of that. We don't borrow money to run our operations. We just fund it based on our operations, and 30 years in, and we've got a national reputation, so we get plenty of work. But
how
crazy.
How did you fund that first one?
So the other 2 lawyers, they funded it, right? So they were more experienced, they were older. So they funded it, and took a proportion of the fee relative to that. So that's how we were, but I think it was $1 million, if I'm not mistaken. And that's 30 years ago. $1 million used to be a lot of money. I'm kidding. Still a lot of money.
That's probably $4 or $5 million equivalent today.
Right. So, and that's why Prudential didn't think that we would ever try this and pursue it. But we were right. We knew we were right. We wanted to do the right thing by these people. They deserved it. We had clients die during it because it took so long, so we end up representing their estate. We have that happen now, where cases, people come to us and these cases take a while. So it's unfortunate.
Does most of the people that come to you, are they scammed by somebody that they know usually in the community, or is it still these high pitch sales conversations over the phone?
I would say no. So there are less and less of the random phone solicitation. I think that the boiler room days are not gone, certainly, but the days of the Long Island kind of just room full of phones, like from Boiler Room and Wolf of Wall Street and all that. There's definitely less of that. We see much less of that. Usually, it's an advisor with whom there's a relationship with. I don't know they're necessarily like friends, but there's a business introduction, there's a relationship. Typically and I tell people there's no reason anybody needs to invest money with somebody they just call them on the phone. There are plenty of good advisors all over the country where you can get in your car, drive down and meet with, that you don't need to be doing it, with some random call on the phone. There's nothing good from answering a random unsolicited phone call to do anything, right? Even mow your lawn, right? Find a neighborhood kid to mow your lawn. You don't need some random person calling you to mow your lawn. But no, we see much. We've had many of those cases. Just these smile and dial, picking up phone books or the equivalent of phone books and calling. And I still get calls. I get calls. You probably get calls on your cell phone. Brokers that get your number from some service. But I think stay away from that. Go to someone that's recommended, that's got some referrals that you can talk to. But again, that number one piece of advice is go to brokercheck.org and make sure before you invest money with an investment, make sure they're licensed and reputable and have the ability, God forbid, if there's a problem, to be able to compensate you.
David, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. Before you go, can you tell everybody where they can find you on the socials or get in touch with your firm?
Our website is investorclaims.com. My law firm name is Meyer Wilson Werning. I did write a book called The Investor Protector. You can get on Amazon. I call it like it's like bulletproofing yourself. It's like a bulletproof vest where if you read my book, you're going to be less likely to fall victim to investment frauds. It can tell you things to do before you hire a broker, like look up your broker, things to watch out for, red flags that might trigger the knowledge of a problem before it gets really big. And then, God forbid, if there's a problem, some things you can do as you're investigating the research for an appropriate securities lawyer with the right experience.
David, thank you. This has been
great talking to you both.
I have one question before I let you go.
You got it.
Really has nothing to do with the podcast, but how the hell did you get that domain? Investor Claims. That's great.
Well, 30 years, right? No, 30 years it was free.
You had? Okay. That's a great domain.
Yeah, that's 30 years. That's the benefit of not having hair and been doing this for 30 years, right?
David, thank you so much. Everybody, that's a wrap.
I enjoyed it. Thanks, guys.
We'll catch you on the next episode.